Growing up in the 1970s felt like living in a world that moved at a human pace. A time when childhood wasn't rushed or monitored every second. Kids stepped outside after breakfast and disappeared into their neighborhoods for hours, riding bikes, walking dirt roads, and inventing adventures without phones, GPS, or constant check-ins. Parents trusted the world more, and kids felt that trust deeply. As long as you came home when the streetlights flickered on, everything was fine. There were no screens competing for attention, no endless scrolling, no notifications pulling you away from the moment. Boredom existed, but instead of being avoided, it became the birthplace of imagination. Kids learned how to create fun from nothing, turning empty lots into baseball fields and cardboard boxers into spaceships. Saturday mornings felt magical because cartoons were something you waited for. You woke up early, poured a bowl of sugary cereal, and sat cross-legged on the floor, fully present. There was no rewind, no pause, no bin. That waiting made everything feel special. Bikes weren't just toys, they were freedom itself. Kids rode miles from home without fear, helmets or supervision, collecting scraped knees and sunburns like badges of honor. Neighborhoods felt like extended families where everyone knew each other, and if you misbehaved 3 streets away, your parents already knew before you got home. Kids played outside until they were completely exhausted, running, climbing, and shouting until dinner time called them back. School felt different. Then there was less pressure, fewer tests, and more room to breathe. When the final bell rang, school stayed at school. Home was for living. Toys were simple but endlessly replayable, requiring imagination instead of batteries. Music filled the air everywhere, from car radios to living rooms, and kids absorbed it naturally, forming emotional connections that still last decades later. Family dinners were normal, not special occasions. Everyone sat at the table together, talking, arguing, laughing, and sharing real moments without distractions. Summer vacations felt endless, stretching on like a lifetime. Days blurred together in the heat, marked only by sunsets and scraped knees. Television didn't run all night. When it signed off, bedtime came naturally. Kids learned responsibility early by walking to school, babysitting siblings, running errands, and helping at home. Lunchboxes weren't just containers. They were personal statements, decorated with favorite characters or bands. Libraries felt magical, full of quiet wonder and discovery long before the internet existed. Road trips were adventures filled with games, music, and staring out windows, letting the mind wander freely. Kids solved their own problems more often, learning resilience, compromise, and emotional strength. The world felt safer, or at least it felt that way, allowing kids to relax and explore. School projects and costumes were handmade, messy and imperfect, but full of effort and pride. Christmas felt bigger because gifts were fewer and cherished longer. Television was something everyone watched together, creating shared cultural moments that carried into school hallways the next day. Attention spans were longer because stimulation was limited, teaching patience without anyone realizing it. Food felt more real, often cooked at home and tied to family recipes. Imagination ruled daily life, and creativity wasn't something you performed for approval. It was something you lived. Kids felt needed because they contributed to family life. Mistakes weren't recorded forever, and embarrassment faded instead of following you online. Friendships ran deep and lasted years. Silence existed, and it was peaceful. Schools emphasized character, respect, and discipline. Life moved slower, allowing childhood to unfold naturally instead of being scheduled minute by minute. Kids learned through experience, not screens. Parents were less anxious, giving children space to grow. Independence came earlier, and failure was normal, not catastrophic. Nature was part of everyday life, not a destination. Creativity wasn't monetized. Memories weren't interrupted, and moments were lived instead of documented. Discipline was clear. Childhood lasted longer. Dreams felt bigger. Play was poor, and patience was learned naturally. Families spent more time together without planning it. Kids felt grounded, connected, and present. Life in the 1970s felt more human. Childhood wasn't a performance. Memories were private, and kids were allowed to be kids for as long as possible. It wasn't a perfect time, but it was real. And for those who lived it, that kind of childhood leaves a mark that never fades.